This is episode 12. And what you're seeing in front of you is a purple sea whip. It's in the Gorgonian family. I'm not going to do too much information on it right now because I'm thinking I'm going to do a critter video on it and give you a lot more information on sort of the keeping requirements and everything else. For now, I'm just going to do a bit of a sweeping update on the tank, which, by the way, has been running pretty good at the minute. This is one of the new pieces. This has been in the tank for probably not even an hour, but polyps are out, everything else. I've got it in high flow. I've got it in relatively high light. It's a high light tank anyway, to be honest. I've got the hydras running. Most of the lights are on about 60%. I think the whites are on about 30. Red and greens are on about 10, I think. So this is one of the new pieces. Another one of the new pieces is this yellow finger Gorgonian. This is right on the bottom of the tank. I'm hoping this grows, spirals up quite big, but only time will tell, really. That was Miguel. So it's only been in the tank, like I said, probably not even an hour. The polyps, you can see there, are white on the yellow background. They're only just starting to come out, really. Both of these Gorgonians are going to be fed, just like the Goniapora here. What I feed these guys is reeferoids, rotifers, what else? I'm planning on getting Goniapower, but I don't actually currently have that, but that's the future for these guys as well. So they're on a pretty good diet, I would have said. I feed a lot of frozen food too, and I know that gives quite a lot of particulates off there as well, and I know they'll grab on those. So at the minute things seem to be, touch wood, on the up and up, all things considered, and fingers crossed, and X, Y and Z. What you probably can notice there, I'll try and zoom into it a bit. Oh, bubble algae. So it's not bothering me at the minute, but I'm not going to treat it like I did the turf algae and not let it bother me, and then in a month's time be totally fucking pissed off about it and be struggling to get rid of it. I do have in this tank a couple of Refrex crabs, or emerald crabs as they're better known. So I suppose it's a matter of waiting for those guys to come and find the bubble algae. The only problem is they don't. The emerald crabs don't really seem to leave their spot. So yeah, I mean, I think what might be worth doing is if I buy one or two more and actually drop them in this section here and see if that's just sort of where they reside, because it seems to me that where I let those things go is where they're remaining, and that's where they're staying. So maybe that's just part of the deal. I also got this 24K LIFO coral. It's in the chalice family. Yeah, I was really stoked to get hold of that. Also, a quick update on the sump. This is the Bubble Magus Curve 5, and it's recently failed on me once again, and it's like a partial pump failure. It's like pushing in water and then no air's getting in, or not enough. It's just not building up the pressure, and each time, the way I've been fixing it is taking the pump out. I should film it really. Taking the pump out, taking the impeller out, basically taking the pump apart and cleaning it really thoroughly. So I don't know what keeps getting in there and blocking it. Like I might find the tiniest little bit of, you know, grit or something in there, but you wouldn't think necessarily that that'd wipe it out, but apparently the slightest little thing in these skimmers and it seems to knock them off. It'd be an okay skimmer if it just ran consistently, but it's just zero consistency on this skimmer. I've got it going pretty good now. Like I said, it is producing some shit, but I've once again had to take it apart, and it's getting to the point where I'm having to do that every week. So I don't know really what to do with this. I suppose I should, ideally I'd replace it, but with everything else that's going on at the minute with the extensions and I'm going to be upgrading all my snakes, tanks and all the rest of it soon. I've got a lot on my plate, to be honest, at the minute, and there's going to be a lot of upgrading. Better content for the channel, I suppose, but a lot of pressure on me. So to be honest with you, upgrading a skimmer, although I should really do it, it's not on the priority list, if you know what I mean. Another thing I'm going to do as well is where I dose acro power, I think I'm going to bypass the skimmer with the pipe and have that dose straight on top of the return line. Because I kind of figured when the skimmer is working, it could well be skimming out almost immediately the acro power, so I think I'm going to sort that out. So another bit that I should probably add to this update is I've got a chap that's offered me some colonies, and I'm not totally sure whether I should take him up on it. They're digitatas, that's SPS, they're greens, a bird's nest and a hystrix, so I'm not really sure what to do. I've got to pay for them obviously, but they are dirt cheap. They're ranging from 5 inches to 7 inches, decent size colonies, but I'm not sure whether I should get them or not. I'd be devastated if I got them and they didn't do well. He seems to think they'll do fine. All my parameters have been literally rock solid the last 2 months, so I don't see why they shouldn't, but it's just me. You know, when you get into these tanks, sometimes you worry that you've got the constant dread of something going wrong, which you should knock yourself out of that. But to be honest with you, with this tank, if you've been watching along, there has been a couple of problems with it. Looking at those, so either way, expect some more new corals recently. These are my Avalopora corals. They're meant to be baby pink and baby blue, and I love the colours on them. They're sulking right now. Oh, that one at the top isn't sulking, but this big one's sulking right now because I recently moved it. Since I cleaned the gyre pumps, if you remember that, the flow, even at their minimum, has increased tenfold, and this guy don't really like the high flow, so I've had to move him out of there. And I dotted him around the tank a bit, which again corals don't like, but I've dropped him here, and overnight he's got to this stage, so hopefully by the end of the day he'll be pumped up again, and he just needs time now. Obviously each time you move a coral's going to knock it right back, and it takes them all a bit of time to come back out. You also notice there's still a bit of algae on this rock. It is slowly dying off. It looks quite nice and green on this camera, but it is slowly dying off. I didn't want to, when I changed everything for the final time, hopefully, I didn't want to be taking these large rocks out and scraping them down and all the rest of it, because there's a hell of a lot of copepods living on this thing. There's a lot of different things on there. There's even sponge growing on there. I don't know whether I'll be able to get that on camera. I'll try and get a bit of... There's a bit of sponge. You can just about see that white pasty looking stuff right in the centre of the screen at the minute. So you can actually see an emerald crab in the background there too. See him. So yeah, anyway. So if you talk to a lot of the proper old schoolers and that, a lot of the guys will say to you, if you've got sponge growth in your tank, healthy sponge growth, then generally speaking that means good things. So yeah, well, we'll see how things go. Obviously, I say it every time, it's just down to the way she goes. So let's see what the future holds for us. I've got high hopes for these new corals. Obviously, if you saw my sump update, you would have heard me talking about the some parts of the trying method that I use. Some parts that I dosed basically weren't being dosed whatsoever in the tank, and it took me a minute to notice that, if you know what I mean. And that coupled with the atomic nutrient bomb that I had in the tank, I actually lost most of my SPS, which is fucking gutting. But it happens. It's the trials and tribulations of starting an SPS tank. You know, you're gonna trip. Not everyone gets it bang on first time round, and I certainly wouldn't recommend to anyone the way I set this tank up. But you know, I am finally getting some growth on the remaining SPS, but after sorry, it's so shaky. After the way things have gone, and you know, I'm not surprised that it's took a little bit of extra time to start getting those tips come up. But on the Setosa, for instance, the little tips come out. I'll see if I can get it on camera. Hang on. So there's the Sunset Montipora Setosa. You can see on the tip there, that's where it's gone white. That's actually a growth tip, and I've started taking pictures. So I think what I'll do, if it all turns out alright, obviously I'll do a time lapse, and we can actually watch the growth in fast motion on there. Say if it's like 6 months of growth or whatever, cover that in the pictures and watch that in fast motion, and I think that'll look pretty cool. But it's cool to finally have, I know that's only a tiny little thing, and it really is a tiny little coral, but nevertheless it makes me feel good that I finally got a bit of an SPS growth in there. So hopefully the messing around I've done with this tank wasn't in vain, and things will be on the up and up. Alright, I'll leave it there anyway. I've been blagging on for long enough now. See you a bit. Don't forget to subscribe.